Good morning, Carolina. I'm Callista Pushman.
And I'm Will Kronsberg. This is Carolina Calendar. Good morning, Callista. Now, for those of you who don't know, SGTV is much more than just a few television shows.
Yeah, that's right. We have another branch of Carolina Tonight who do live sketch comedy shows, and tonight was their first live show last night. Sketches included a lazy 911 dispatch and the harsh realities of an Amazon warehouse. Now, USC Update came out on Wednesday if you're itching to get some more CT content, but for now we have a clip to show of the show from last night.
911, what's your emergency? No, sir, this is not a Domino's. This is 911, so unless you have an emergency, you're going to have to hang up the phone now. Okay? Okay, goodbye. I hate this job sometimes. I really do. Like, people are always trying to get something out of me. Like, it's always like, my house is on fire, or my kid is getting abducted, or I'm dying. Who cares? You know? Like, for once, I would like to have a genuine conversation with somebody that's not just like, you know, please help me out, you know? It's so frustrating. It's like, here we go again.
The show was amazing, Callista. I really liked, obviously, the Amazon warehouse one was really funny because it was like, there's an SGTV staffer I won't name who is going to work at Amazon, so that's going to be pretty funny. The 911 dispatch was also really good.
But I will say my favorite, I love the angel devil crack dealer.
It was hard to understand, and I was behind the camera, so I was switching between the two cameras that we had. And there were two scenes going on at once, basically, so I had to like keep switching between them, but it was really good. It was really well written, and hats off to Ethan and his whole crew.
Yeah, 100%. And hopefully they will be back in another couple weeks with their second live show.
Yeah. A week after that, so next Thursday, March 3rd, we have Retro Craft Night. That's going to be the Thursday after dark for next week. It's going to be crazy arts and crafts with a little early 2000s spin. That event runs from 7 to 10 in the Russell House Ballroom. Callista, I'm not much of a crafter, but I do have a lot of early 2000s nostalgia from my childhood.
I feel like a lot of early 2000s crafting is kind of like glittery chaos, so I think that anyone would be able to handle it, including a not crafty person like yourself. What's
interesting is on the poster, they went with like a very retro color scheme, like the blues, the pinks, the bright yellow, kind of like an arcade carpet kind of look, but they said early 2000s, so I'm interested to see like what exactly.
I mean, if we're talking arcade carpet, that kind of reminds me of our SGTV merch. I won't plug it. Instead, in West Columbia, these sounds strummed and sung in Bill's Pick and Parlor are some of the only bluegrass tunes to be heard in South Carolina, as the uncommon country genre is becoming less common. SGTV News 4 reporter Finn Carlin shows you how these pickers and pluckers are keeping bluegrass alive.
Through the doors of a little West Columbia shop, you'll hear strings strumming and voices singing. One of the only spots in the state to hear this kind of music ringing.
This is the bluegrass epicenter of South Carolina.
Willie Wells owns Bill's Bluegrass Pick and Parlor, left to him by his father, who died of cancer 11 years ago.
Well, my dad wanted to make it a place where people could come and play and pick music.
Every Friday night, the parlor comes alive as an open stage becomes filled with bluegrass tunes. Pickers and pluckers bring their strings to keep this uncommon country genre alive. But people at the Pick and Parlor are part of a dwindling group of bluegrass listeners. In the last 5 years, country songs averaged at 11% of the Billboard year-end Hot 100. None were bluegrass. So what brings people to the traditional strumming sound?
Whenever someone brings out a banjo, people just smile. It makes them want to hear it.
Local string musician Eric Stevens, who wanted to stay off camera, says bluegrass tells sincere stories through simple song.
It's not Bach, you know, it's bluegrass, and usually it's no more than 2 or 3 chords.
Traditional acoustic sound is what keeps bluegrass alive. The music is made with simple chords, which are 3 or more notes put together to make harmonies like these. But But the Pick and Parlor is more than catchy chords for these musicians. It's a community.
It's a place where you can play music with other people of all different levels and it's a social event. It's a musical social event.
For Wells, it's a place to feel welcomed.
If you want to learn bluegrass music or really just learn an instrument, this is the place to come.
A place built on the beats of bluegrass. In Columbia, Finn Carlin, SGTV News 4.
As we reported last night, Maya Porzio won the race to be student body vice president, while Noah Glasgow will be our next speaker of the Student Senate. Now, as for the student body presidents, Reedy Newton and Grujal Rupra will be in a runoff to be that student body president. Just like this past week, voting will be open from 9 a.m. on Tuesday, March 1st to 5 p.m. on Wednesday, March 2nd, and SGTV will have you covered with a special on Monday night. Calista, I'm excited to interview the candidates again and just see what this next round of voting holds.
No, it's certainly been very exciting to be such an integral part of getting to know the candidates and getting that information out to the student body, so definitely look forward to that coverage before voting on Tuesday. But on that note, coming up after the break, though elections are not over yet for some, we are joined by a special guest to talk about what to expect next year. Joining us now is the newly elected Speaker of the Student Senate, Noah Glasgow. Noah, thanks for joining us today.
No problem. Thank you. It's great to be here.
Now, if we could just start off, we haven't actually gotten to ask you about who Noah is outside the position. Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I am a sophomore international studies major. I'm minoring in African American studies. I'm from Forest Acres, South Carolina, so not too far from Columbia. Outside of student government, I'm in Omicron Delta Kappa, ODK, along with Maya Porzio, and all of that kind of stuff.
No, brilliant. Now, if you could explain your position for those who don't know.
Yeah, so the Speaker of the Student Senate is the presiding officer over 50 student senators within the Student Senate. So I would basically just run the meetings, run the parliamentary procedure, make sure that everything is being held up to code. But I also am like an ex officio chair of the Rules Committee, which reviews all the legislation that comes forward. But additionally, what we're going to try and do this term, which is a little bit different, is we're going to be a little bit more hands-on with our legislation process, making sure that our senators know how to write legislation, because being in the Student Senate for 2 years, I know that some newer people don't necessarily know how to do it, and they get thrown in the deep end. That's not always great, so I'm bringing on a few new staff members, like a legislative aide. Morgiana McDevitt started that last year. We're going to continue on with that, just making it a little bit more hands-on with all of that stuff.
And that's all very exciting, but I have to ask, what got you into this?
Yes, okay, so I honestly did not even expect to come to USC, but here I am, and I'm glad that I did. And I was very involved in student council in high school. I saw on Garnet Gate that they were taking vacant Senate seats for the Student Senate. So I was like, oh my God, this is just natural for me. So I applied, I got in, and then last year when Morgiana McDevitt was running for Speaker, she asked me to be part of her campaign. It's been great watching her grow. She's been a real mentor, she's a real leader, and I got to serve as the chairman of the Student Life Committee this term, which is the largest committee in the Student Senate. And I found that, as I was writing legislation, I was debating things, as I was meeting with university officials, there were a lot of problems within our own organization, such as accessibility, such as sustainability, and how we treat other people, that I felt that we could improve on, and that's what led me to run for Speaker.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. We talk about goals, or your first 100 days, your first month. So what is the first thing you want to accomplish when you get into the Speaker position officially?
Yes, so I think especially after light of recent events with how some student senators, surround themselves with certain people that use derogatory language, that engage in hateful behavior. I'm going to make all of my chairmen go through anti-racism, implicit bias, and safe zone training to make sure that we never have something like that happen again in terms of chairmen within our Student Senate. I'm going to talk with the Russell House to put a ramp into the Russell House Theater, at least for Wednesday nights. So anybody that's in a wheelchair, that's in a scooter, that's in a boot, crutches, or all that stuff, they can come. I'm going to be the first speaker to add an ASL signer to my staff so they can live translate during all Senate sessions to make it more accessible. And I'm also just going to go down to the OMSA office just to talk about more trainings that we can do, just to make sure that we're all more socially aware of people's identities and experiences that they have. And I think another thing that we're going to do is something that I've learned as chairman of the Student Life Committee is that a lot of people don't really know how to reach out to student government. So I'm going to be talking with our student government faculty advisor to add an anonymous reporting onto our student government website. So if somebody has an issue, they want to see us tackle something, they can type that right into the website. We'll get that information, and I can give that to the senators to write that legislation to take on those fights.
Now, it's very exciting to see such ambition out of our new Speaker of the Senate, and we look forward to following what you end up doing.
Thank you.
But just to shift gears a little bit, rumor has it you're a Swiftie, and I saw on your Twitter. How is that related to your campaign?
Okay, so Taylor Swift is my favorite artist, okay? And so I chose the color purple for my campaign because purple is like on the album of her Speak Now album. So it was a campaign for the Swifties. I'm very excited for Taylor's version of that. I think that's going to be the
We're manifesting it a little bit. I'm in the party of Speak Now needs to come next. I don't know how hard you're following it.
But also, I really like the parallel between the Speak Now and the Speaker.
Speaker. So I was going to make my slogan Speak Now, but then I thought that's a little too on the nose.
It's a little on the nose, maybe a copyright issue.
Yeah, I've definitely enjoyed seeing it come out of your Twitter and be like, oh my gosh, it's been in front of me the whole time.
Yeah, just a little subtle thing.
All right, well, congratulations on the position. And it's been great having you on the show today.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, coming up, we've got a weekend weather report, so stay tuned. Really enjoying these nice spring temperatures? Maybe picnicking out on the Horseshoe or visiting the Riverbank Zoo? Well, I have some bad news. Actually, Callista has some bad news.
Okay, rude, but I guess I'll share. Those warmer temperatures will stay for a few days, but lows will once again begin to dip into the 30s around Monday. The cold spell should not last long though, but it plans to be the story before Gamecocks go on spring break.
With that dreary note aside, I want to kick off a new mini segment where Callista and I talk about one thing, serious or not so serious, on our minds this week. I want to focus on something from the hardcourt world, from basketball. I know usually I do sports on Tuesday, Carolina calendar on Friday, but we can't ignore what Aaliyah Boston just did for the Gamecocks. The Gamecocks were 26-1. We're at Texas A&M last night. Dawn Staley's team beat the Aggies 89-48, and Boston led the team with 18 points, and she clinched her 20th straight double-double, which breaks the SEC record held by Sylvia Fowles since 2006-2007, a Gamecock SEC record holder, a legend in the program, and she's positioning herself to have a statue right next to Asia Wilson outside.
Oh, I would not be surprised one bit. But definitely as someone coming into the school as just being not a basketball person one bit, suddenly I'm the biggest fan of women's basketball.
I have my Gamecock tie for Aaliyah Boston. She's the National Player of the Year favorite, and she's amazing and a Gamecock icon.
Definitely an honor to have her go. I walked past her once. It was probably the coolest day of my life. Very, very exciting. So of course, Will has his sports. I have my entertainment. I'm usually producing The Buzz on Wednesdays, and we talked about Euphoria on Wednesday, and I still have some stuff to settle out. I disagreed with some of my anchors about some of their opinions. And with the finale coming up, I mean, Will and I, we watch it together a good amount of the time, so it's like, why not talk about it here? So, well, I'll ask you first, do we have some finale predictions that we want to put out here?
I saw some bold finale predictions that kind of reminded me of Arthur in a weird way. I don't know if you heard about the Arthur finale, but they were like 30 years into the future.
Yeah.
I saw some predictions that were like, oh, everything's going to be okay, and they're going to live, and then we're going to see a flash forward in the next season. No, we're not.
Absolutely not.
So, okay, here's the thing, and this is where I took issue with the Buzz the other day. Tatum put Lexi on the middle tier. Not cool. Lexi is an icon. Lexi and Fesco forever.
Probably our favorite character.
Which is why I agreed with Emmett. I think he had an amazing take. Lexi is amazing. Her play, I want to see the rest of her play, and
we've been looking forward to it for a hot minute, and now that it's here, they have lived up to every expectation I feel they built up. One
thing I will say about it is it was exactly what Nate deserved. They did him
Oh, yeah.
really dirty, but he did everybody else dirty for like 18 episodes. So,
Like, I think it's fair. And boy, did Ethan carry that show on his shoulders.
Ethan is an icon.
When he told Kat, I got the part, he got all the parts. He is the show. Like,
He
missing
is
a
the show.
rehearsal, if he missed one rehearsal, what do they do? What do they do? All right,
well, with that, we're going to wrap up Carolina Calendar for today, February 25th, 2022.
Now be sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at SGTV at USC.
To keep up with all of our content, be sure to also visit us online at sgtvonline.com. For SGTV News 4, I'm Will Kronberg.
And I'm Callista Pushman. From all of us here at SGTV, have a great weekend, Carolina, forever to thee.